I took a Ukrainian model to church and told her to play as my wife. She played along. Here's why and the exact framework I'm using to train her. What's up, Anthony Perlas? Welcome back to The Secret Life of the Hollywood Supermodel. This is episode 3, season 39. Last episode, we broke down the Viper Room pivot play. And today, we're fast forwarding, right? We're past the pivot. We're past the dating phase, and today I'm showing you what happens when you skip from the dating game and jump straight into what's applicable in the relationship dynamic, right? So we're looking for a long-term game, right? When you take a girl you've known for 2 hours and put her into the wife role inside a church that you've been building social capital for 3 years. But here's the thing. This isn't a date. This is a training exercise, right? Elena is in day 2 into our program. She's an OT model, over the top, and today her role is housewife, right? And I'm going to show you exactly why we do it, how do we do it, and the reading chart I use to track where we are in the game at all times, right? So there's going to be 2 audiences for today, right? If you're a model watching this, this is how our agency trains our female models. If you're a guy watching this, this is how you would use our models to practice your game before you touch a high value target, right? So these are the 2 targets that we have, right? We have Callista and we have Sophia, right? I had already dated Callista's best friend, and I'm already like the photographer of Sophia's boyfriend / bandmate, whatever you want to call it, right? So stay till the end. I'm going to drop the TCS reading chart, the conspiracy framework, and the 3-year deadline that makes all of this make sense, right? So let's get right into it, right? So, all right, let's address who's watching this, because this episode serves 2 purposes, and I'm not going to pretend it doesn't, right? So, audience number 1, the models. You're watching this because you want to join my modeling agency. You want to know what training looks like, right? Here's what it looks like. Today, Elena is playing a role, right? She's being paid a monthly fee, and she's paid every, the same day, right? She's playing my wife. She's playing my girlfriend whenever I'm out. Every time I take her out, she's in character. This is an acting role. If you're an actress, that's the training, right? You learn to hold that frame, right? You learn to read a room. You learn to be an accessory that elevates the client experience. That's a job. If you can't do this, you're not OT material. And that's okay. There's a lot of jobs available for you. But you're just a pretty face, and pretty faces are everywhere in LA. We provide the training, right? Audience number 2, guys, you're watching this because you want to date a high value, like Sophia, like Callista, hot girls, models, the kinds who have options, right? And here's what I'm going to teach you. You don't need to practice on those women. It's already too late. You need to practice now. And you need to be around high-value women, as hot as them, if not hotter, because hot girls and normal girls hot girls and normal girls act completely different. If you're training on how to target a low-value female, you're not going to be ready for the hot one, right? So you need to practice with our models. Elena is a training surface. She is day 2 with us, right? And we have a few hours of texting outside of it. So she can be stolen by any guy who matches me, someone with a bigger dick, more money, bigger house, more testosterone, better Ferrari. That's the reality. So if we put her in a low-stakes environment where I can train her and train myself simultaneously, then that is the ideal, right? So this is the low-stakes environment. That's the key. You don't want to take a day 2 girl to a high-pressure room. You want to take her somewhere controlled, somewhere you own the social capital, somewhere the environment does 70% of the work. That's why we're at church. But before we get into the church breakdown, I need to install the framework, because if you don't understand the game we're playing, the tactics are just noise. So act number 2, the simulation and the conspiracy. You are in a simulation. Everyone around you is an NPC running a script. The girl at the bar, she's an NPC. Your ex-girlfriend is an NPC. The priest is an NPC. Your mom, your dad, everyone is an NPC. Your brother, your sister, right? The guys are competing for the same attention. Another girl, another NPC. This game was never between you and the girl, you and the other guys. This is you against the material universe. This material universe is called Saturn, also known as Chronos. It is time, restriction, decay, entropy. Saturn wants you depleted, tired, addicted, chasing, ejaculating into a screen, scrolling around. That's the simulation keeping you in the loop, right? Every time you break a pattern, you're hacking the code. Every time you hold a frame, you're refusing the script. Now here's where it gets interesting, right? The conspiracy. Last episode, we talked about pawns and pivots. A pawn is someone being game who doesn't know it. A pivot is someone who knows and is cool with it. Today, we're going to introduce a third level. This is called the conspiracy, baby. Conspiracy is when you and the girl are both in on the same game together. This is me and Elena. You're not gaming her, she's not gaming you. You are gaming the environment. You are gaming the NPC. You're building an NPC is a non-playable character for those who made it this far. You're building a shared project that bonds you, and this is why it matters. Elena is in day 2, guys. And she has now 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours of investment. She cannot be stolen anymore. If I'm just gaming her, I'm competing with every guy who walks up to her, and you don't want that, right? But if I bring her into a conspiracy, now we're a team. Now she has skin in the game. Now she's invested in the outcome. Because if she fails, it's going to be on her. So what is the conspiracy? The church. We're conspiring to take over this church. I'm going to be the pastor. She's going to be the wife. We're building a Bible study. We're building a community. That's the shared project. That is the bond, right? So, and here's the urgency. I have 3 years to find a Ukrainian blonde who's 5'10" with blue eyes. Otherwise, I will never be allowed to have a wife or have sex for the rest of my life. That's the stakes, right? That's the ticking clock, right? That's what makes the conspiracy real. It's not a game, it's a mission. Now, is it true? Does it matter? The point is she believes it, right? Or she's not sure, and that's uncertainty is the hook, right? That's the mystery. That's what keeps her leaning in. You want her at the edge, always flirting with her, always on the rhythm, never letting go, never letting it go boring, right? Because here's the truth. There is no truth in a girl. She remembers emotions. She doesn't remember facts. So you chain the emotions, you keep the rhythm, you make every silence a cliffhanger, right? Okay, so let's break down the environment, right? So I've been coming here for about 3 years, right? This church. Rule number 1, you go for the guy on top, right? Never waste time on the knights, the peasants, the nobles, the lords. You go directly to the guy who's the king, the pastor, the priest. That's the power. That's the authority. Because if you go to the peasants, they're going to make you work hard. They're working hard, so they expect you to work hard. But remember, you are the light speed, right? You are the godsend. You're special. You don't need to work hard. You need to achieve the maximum amount of results for the least amount of effort. Anything you can't achieve that way, that's what you spend your effort on. But if you can achieve it in the shortest amount of time, you take advantage of that. So no need to struggle. Get the easy way. And whatever you can't get easy, you do the hard way. So 3 years of relationship building. The pastor already knows me. The community knows me. I celebrated my birthday here. That's the preloaded social proof. Elena walks in and the environment confirms my status without saying a word. So we enter the high value. We've mastered it all. The positions, praying, standing, sitting. We know the ritual. We've been doing this for 36 years of our life, right? She doesn't. That's the frame. I'm the guide. I am Moses leading her across the Red Sea into a world she doesn't understand. So that's date number 2, right? We've skipped the dating phase. We're already married. This is already my daughter. Her daughter's my daughter. This is my wife. That's the role, right? And here's why. When you fast forward the relationship dynamic, you are role playing, right? You skip the games. You skip the what are we conversation. You're already there. She's already in the role. She's helping me find my next girlfriend and my next wife, right? But she's going to shit test you. She's going to probe. She asked me, why Ukrainian women? Why is your intention? And here's the rule. The only time you explain to a woman is to mansplain the woman, right? And I don't mean that offensively. I mean it. It's a popular term. It's accurate. You don't answer your question because then you're going to be in her hoop. You answer her question with another question, with sarcasm. The moment you explain what you're doing, that's when you lose, dude. Today at church, I explained what I was doing, but not because I was making an episode. Not because I was explaining myself, but because I was making an episode about it, right? That's the exception. The Bible study footage, that's where you see the real game. So I'm going to post that Bible study we had after this, so go watch that after this, right? So layer number 3, the daughter variable. The daughter, most guys run wrong. The daughter is proof that Elena needs an anchor. She's a mom. She's looking for stability. You don't compete with the daughter. You become the structure that holds them both. And here's the bonus: when you expect the mom dynamic, you demonstrate a value that no club guy can compete with: maturity, structure, and frame. You have to be careful how you reference her. She's a mom. You hype her up. You show respect. You don't want the other models or the other guys criticizing how she's displayed. That's part of the training. Showing our models how to be respectful while still being magnetic, right? Act number 4, the TCS reading chart, right? All right, this is the framework I use to track where we are in the game at all times. TCS, right? And each phase has 3 levels, right? So, we have the attract, right? We identify the target, you build the profile. You establish presence, you build social proof, and then you get your first interaction, right? And then, there's 3 levels of comfort. You build rapport, common ground, trust. Comfort 2, you deepen connections, shared values, vulnerability. Comfort 3, you create the conspiracy, you shared project. And then we have the S1, S2, S3. You seduce, escalation, kinesthetic, be physical. Number 2 is isolation, right? Change locations, time dilation, right? Number 3 is last minute resistance. So we will go over those phases later on, but yeah, where are we right now? Elena, day 2, 5 hours, where are we? We are in C2, right? Exploring attraction, we're building comfort, we're not yet in seduction, we're not closing, we're building the conspiracy, we're creating the shared project, we're doing the church, we're doing the Bible study. She has 3 years to find me a Ukrainian wife. And once you follow this ladder closely, you can start running proper game. Most guys skip from A1 to S3. They open, they escalate, they crash, right? No comfort, no conspiracy, no bond. That's why they fail, right? So we're in C2 moving into C3, right? The conspiracy is the bridge. Once she's fully conspired, once she believes in the mission, we move to seduction 1, but not before. Patience is the game, right? So the shared value protocol. Here's what makes this conspiracy work. Shared values, shared conspiracy, sense of urgency. Shared value is Orthodox Christianity, not Protestantism. The difference, we go to confession, and Sundays we eat the bread, the body of Christ, right? Worship isn't personal belief, it's attendance. It's physical, it's participation, it's suffering. And suffering is good. Unity with your suffering with Christ, right? She's able to sacrifice, she's kind, she looks at the person's soul, not the surface level, she's not materialistic. That's the value match. She's, a perfect wife, literally, right? Perfect wife plays the role of wife, right? So, shared conspiracy, right? We're taking over the church. I'm going to be the pastor, she's going to be the wife. We're building a community, right? We're building a Bible study. We're running a church like we're running a promoter party. Sense of urgency, 3 years, blonde, blue eyes, 5'10", Ukrainian. Otherwise, I could never be married. I'll never have sex for the rest of my life when I become pastor of this church in 3 years, right? So that's the framework. That's how you bond a day 2 girl into conspiracy that makes her invested in the outcome. And if she doesn't pass that conspiracy, she fails. She'll be in the lock, right? So she's always working for me, right? Remember, you're the king, you're the lion. The lioness female works for the man, right? So let me tell you the story, right? I was dating this girl. Her name was Julia Ju. She's Korean. We're going out 7 nights a week. We were pretty much a pair, right? I had this AMC stubsless, and you basically pay $35 a month. It's unlimited movies. You watch 3 movies a week. That's the cheapest way to date girls in the hot LA, right? Watch 3 movies a week, and whatever. You take her to the movies. No other guy can ever take her to the movies again. So she's already watched all the other movies. So she joked to me, so are you doing this so no other guy can take me to the movies? And I was like, yeah, duh. So the control paradox, right? So now, is that funny? Is it true? Yes and yes. Is it blunt? Yes. Does it sound like a control freak? Yes. But here's the question I want to ask you. I want you to sit with this. Do you want to be the loser, out of control with beer, drugs, of women? Or do you want to be in control of your finances, in control of yourself? It doesn't matter how much power you have, your position or title. What matters is whoever is in control, who calls the shots, that is the real deal, right? And here's the science of comedy. When you say something controversial, it becomes funny. When you say something serious and, it's controversial and you pretend like you don't think it's funny, that's funny. That's a sweet spot. So you don't even need to give so much effort, right? That's what makes it work, right? By not giving as much effort, you are not the clown. You are always the king, the alpha male, the apex predator. You are giving the least effort and getting the maximum attention, right? You have crowd control, social control, you read the room, and you never get yourself embarrassed. Put yourselves in vulnerable situations, right? You always have guys having your back, the girls having your back. That is macroeconomics, right? So the things you say are just funny because they're true and blunt and controversial. That's the personality you want to build. You lead with the pace. You keep it from being boring. If you let her talk about herself and boring things happen, she will be bored, and girls are emotional. They will only remember that she was bored with you. There's no truth in a girl. The moment you accept that, you understand the game. She thinks with her emotions, and that's who you need to communicate with. Her emotions, not her rational mind. You can't convince her to like her. You got to show her she loves you, right? She has to be emotionally attached, right? And you chain it. You keep the chaining. It becomes doctrine, right? So the ownership principle. Here's the bigger picture. If I'm trying to get girls, I'm not going to follow the rules of what's happening in the nightclub of West Hollywood. I'm going to buy out the entire West Hollywood city. Or any city that's unincorporated in Los Angeles, right? And I'm going to build all the streets, the restaurants, the apartments, the hotels, the concert venues. I'm going to own the entire space and hire influencers to set my culture down, right? That's the game. You never play, you're never second class to another man, right? You don't play by the rules of the simulation. You break the system, you own the system, right? And if a girl is susceptible to indoctrination, we just indoctrinate her to a different value system, our operating system, right? She's already in the Orthodox Christianity operating system. She rejects materialism. She has the divine spark. She feels suffering as unity with Christ. That's her base, and that's my belief too, right? So all we're doing is we're putting her back to that Ukrainian identity, right? While bringing her into our conspiracy. She's helping me find a Ukrainian wife while acting like a wife, right? She's helping me with my photography. She's helping me with my model agency. She's my social proof. That's the exchange. That's the conspiracy, right? So the analytics. All right. Question for you guys. The analytics, right? How can you conspire with a girl? Do you have any girls right now you can conspire with? How can you build a project together? You introduce her to cool people, whatever world she's in right now. She's bored of her life. Her life is boring. How can you make her life more interesting? That's why she's on social media. She's overstimulated and bored and suffering at the same time. You got to take her away from hell, right? You take her out of her own world and introduce her into your world. Something that's better than her world, right? But here's the nuance. If a girl is overstimulated, you want someone who's low in stimulation. If you're building an empire and the girl is easily discardable, why are you doing that? You want someone who can match your frequency, someone who can handle the conspiracy without flaking, right? So, our training recap. Elena, day 2, training status, role, wife, girlfriend, housewife, environment, church, low stakes, controlled, right? We're currently in the C2 phase, right? Conspiracy formation. So, threat level right now is medium, right? On day 1, any guy can steal her, but she came back, right? So, which is good, right? So now, threat level is medium. And the solution is we have the conspiracy, we have the shared project, we have the sense of urgency, right? So our next play is how do we go from C2 to C3, comfort 2 to comfort 3, and how do we deepen the conspiracy, go into S1, right? She's powerful, she's magnetic. When I took her to the Viper room, she was the most powerful person in the club. She was the hottest girl in the room, right? Any guy, all the guys approached her, and that was the threat. So we take her, that's not going to happen anymore, right? How could we be so stupid to bring a hot girl in a club for her to get gamed on by other guys, right? The only indoctrination a woman has is your indoctrination. Do not let any other guy influence or indoctrinate your woman, right? So that's why we put her into the church. We reverse engineer, we reverse whatever culture is happening in West Hollywood. You invert the threats that you have, right? So if the guys are into materialism, right, you invert the values of, Jesus, right? We build a bond, we strengthen the identity, you're in control of her experiences, you're in control of her environment. And then that's the dark part, right? That's the part that's going to make this viral and controversial. You train her, you bond her, you build a conspiracy, and then you have to decide after the 7 to 10 hour mark whether to keep her, to pawn her, to pivot her. Because the conspiracy is bigger than the girl. The agency is bigger than the girl. The mission is bigger than the girl, right? Elena is a mercenary. She was hired as a mercenary. She's an asset. She's in training. She's in day 2. When she's ready, when she's fully trained and calibrated, she goes into the rotation, right? So we're investing this 2 months of boot camp with her. We're spending all this attention, and she becomes social proof for the next year. She becomes the pivot for the next target. That's the machine. We develop and nurture our models to the fullest. That's the infinite loop. Not everyone survives a training camp of 2 months, right? Claudia just passed the 2 months, there's all these other girls that pass the 2 months, right? But not everyone makes it. Not everyone is meant to make it, right? And that's the episode, right? This is the church conspiracy, the training in day 2. Can Elena last 2 months? Is she going to stay past the 2 months? Is she going to stay for 3 years with us? We don't know, right? And that's the conspiracy forming. You got to spice things up. You got to make things interesting for her. This is the 3-year clock ticking, right? So yeah, for you guys out there, the 2 audiences, the models, this is how we train. For the guys, this is how you practice. You always got to be closing, always be gaming girls, right? Every day life is a game of pickup. Before you touch a high value target like Callista or Sophia, you need to practice on girls that are mercenaries. You got to practice, and you got to know the chart. What level of the stage are you in, right? And the attract, comfort, and seduce. The conspiracy framework tells you the bond, right? And this urgency principle tells you why she stays, right? So if this helped you in any way or form, you're interested in our future progress here with Elena, I want you to subscribe, drop a comment. If you're ready to stop playing the wrong game and, start playing the right game, I want you to reach out to me. We have a free 5-minute discovery call, right? And the accelerator program is open, right? And the agency is casting for models. The conspiracy is growing. I'm Anthony Perlas, master dating coach, photographer, model agency director, the only guy in Los Angeles teaching you how to hack the simulation. And so we're going to do another review for Viper Room, right? We're going to make another episode in a few days, right? And we're going to upload this Bible study video on my channel. Go watch it. The clock is ticking. The simulation is running. The question is, are you playing the game or are you being played? I'll see you guys in a few days, okay?